Improve Your Chess Resolves by Vladimir Zak is a book which show a wealth of examples through different games that have some mistakes that players consistently do. And so the hope is that showing you this over and over will help with your games. Zak was Spassky trainer, coach when he was young, so it seems his authoritative voice because he has seen a lot of young players develop their skills and fall through the same problems over and over. Now I show you another game by this young player called Steinberg that Zak said he was equal to Karpov, but unfortunately when he was very young, 24, he died. Okay, the game is Battles Steinberg, played in Groningen, that was a famous tournament in 1966. So Steinberg is black, okay? d4, d5, c4, c6, knight f3, knight f6, knight c3, d take c4, e4, b5. I don't know if this is a Slav defense. I think it's a kind of Queen's Gambit accepted, right? It's a line, I think, of a Queen's Gambit accepted. I might be wrong, so please correct me. Okay, e5, knight d5, a4, e6, and here it's knight e4. Now keep in mind this book was written or published in 1985, so there were no computers double checking the analysis. Here it says, theoretical manuals pass over this move in silence. To me, it looks no worse than the usual continuation, which it seems is or bishop e2 or a takes b, okay? After knight e4, there is knight d7, g3, and then there is something that is considered dubious by Zak, that is knight 5, b6. Let's see what it says. It says, black's desire to remove the pressure from his queenside pawn chain is understandable. So this is the pawn chain. But this is achieved at too high price, the loss of 2 tempi. And this is nice. It seems at least Zak knew the plural of tempo. It would have been more natural to continue developing with bishop b7. So this was the move he should have played, okay? Okay, let's see in any case what happens. a5. So in reality white is okay, it seems, with giving up a pawn. Knight d5, bishop h3, h6, and knight h4. Of this move, Steinberg writes, white has no time to lose. If black once gets in bishop e7, a6 and bishop b7 and c5, white will simply be left a pawn down with a bad position. Up to this point, Badatz had played very quickly, whereas I had used up a lot of time on the maneuver 8, knight d7 and knight 5b6. But in the end, both of us got into time trouble. Okay, so let's see. So black continue with g5, but he says that if he would have played this, probably white would have played this. Okay, interesting. Yeah, because if you take, it's a mess here. Knight d6 and the queen takes f7, checkmate. So kind of interesting. Yeah. Okay, g5. But the problem is that, in these cases, generally the move you are scared of is the move that maybe white would play in any case. And so I don't know if g5 really solved it. Well, yeah. White played queen h5 because this is generally what happens in real games. But the move you're scared of, queen h5, is gonna be played no matter what. G takes, bishop takes e6, boom, wow, fantastic. And here the move played by black is rook h7, which is a mistake. Why it's a mistake? Here it says the game was played at the end of a tournament. Steinberg was a point ahead of his opponent, and from the competitive standpoint a draw would have suited him. Perhaps this very consideration was what motivated black's last move. A considerably stronger line was bishop b4 check, bishop d2, bishop takes d2, king takes d2, queen e7, knight d6 check, king f8, knight takes f7, and rook h7, and here Zak says, and black has defended successfully. Okay, so let's see for a second the position. Black has defended successfully, he says. Yeah, because because the problem is this that is hanging, and if you move it, this one is also hanging. Yeah, great place. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see anything else. But good analysis by Zak, and let's not forget that the king is here in the center, so it's a kind of shaking. Let's go back. Okay, this was the position, and black played rook h7. By the way, I realized, guys, because I never watched the games before, because that wouldn't be honest in a sense, in my opinion. And I also don't use an engine, again, because this is should be real life chess. We should learn from it. In any case, I realized while putting back the position that Zak used this game as an example of learning something, but from white point of view. I generally put the games from the point of view of a winner, so you see it from black side, because I got the feedback that you like to see from the winner. And so I do this, it's not a big deal, and it makes sense. But in this case, the analysis is important for white. So after rook h7, white played bishop f5, and black played rook h8. And here there is a diagram. So I don't know if you have your chessboard out, but you should analyze from white point of view. Why? Because this is the moment, the critical moment in the game where white went wrong and lost the game because of it. What did he play? He played bishop g6, which is a mistake. And here he says, to explain this bad move by time trouble would be too simple. Only 15 moves have been made, but white has just sacrificed a piece. Okay? And before doing so, he would necessarily have to devote a great effort of analysis to probing all the subtleties of a resulting position. Honestly, I don't think he did that. For me, when you do this and you have this kind of possibility, it's something that makes sense. Unfortunately, here he continued wrongly, but sometimes you don't really analyze all the continuation. You feel it right and you play it. In any case, he says it's clear that black's most vulnerable point is f7. Yeah, and that we understood it. White ought to concentrate his forces against it. Most likely he worked out the tempting variation, which was, instead of this e6. But after e6 there is queen e7, e takes d, bishop takes d7, castle, and castle. And here he says he convinced himself that this doesn't give him anything to speak of, and to economize on time played the test move, which quickly led to loss without analyzing it at all. This is just the sort of sorry end that has occurred in many games by young players lacking sufficient practical experience. And now Zak gives the right move, what he thinks it would have been the right move for white. So let me go back. Okay, I hope I put it back correctly. And so white played this, that is wrong, and Zak analyzed this move, but it seems it doesn't bring anywhere. And now it gives you the right move. The right move for him is this, castle. Castle makes sense because the enemy king is in the center, okay? So let's see what happens. He says, and yet after castle, black would have been confronted with difficult, scarcely solvable problems. For example, let's say that after castle he plays knight b8, e6, queen e7, e takes f, and here there is king d8, rook e1, bishop takes f5, queen takes f5, and queen d7, and to which follow queen g6. the pawn on f7 is the basic pivot of the white's position, and he has to guard it with all his strength without being enticed by petty material gains. A bad position would result by queen e5, because there is rook h7, he says, queen e8 check, queen takes e8, then of course there is f takes e8, obviously queen, king take e8, and knight f6 check, but in reality it's a double check, okay? So he's checking twice, king f7, knight takes h7, and bishop g7, and here he says, and black wins without trouble. But after queen g6, like we saw, black has no defense, he says. So let's see what he analyzed, okay? Let me go back to that position. So this was the position that Zak says you must not be enticed by gains like with queen e5. The correct move is queen g6. Notice that we are at move 21. So, in my opinion, he is asking a little too much. What do I mean too much? Okay, let's say that white didn't play bishop g6, that was a mistake, and actually castle at move 16, okay? At move 16 he did that. But here we are at move 21, so this needs to be visualized, okay? And then at move 21 he says, to prove it, says black has no defense against the threatened queen g8. Since knight e7 can be met by queen f6, rook h7, and knight c5, queen f5, knight b7, king c7, and boom. And of course he also gives another line at move 23. But I will not show you because, okay, honestly, it becomes a little too long. But at this point we are at move 25. I'm sorry, I don't believe, also if these guys were obviously the top of the world in 1966, young people full of energy and so on, that they would practically visualize the move ahead with all these possible variations. I don't believe it, honestly. And I think, and I have shown to you more than one time, the maximum, the one that are the top GM visualize 4 moves ahead. They don't even visualize 5. And here he asked to do at least 5, because that queen g6 was really important to be found in order to justify castle. Again, it's a very interesting variation. It shows that obviously he analyzed well, because you must understand this is 1966. So if he knew this guy, he helped him analyze the game after, right? And there were no engines in that time, so they must have spent hours to analyze. But can you really do that during the game? I don't think so. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so this was the position that was the critical position, and the move e6 wasn't correct. The move bishop g6 was the one played in the game, wasn't right. The right move you should have found was this castle. Okay. Let's continue to see the game. After bishop g6, black continue with bishop b4 check, king d1, queen e7, and knight g5. Obviously white had pinned his hopes on this move, but after the simple h takes g, queen takes h8, and knight f8, black obtained an overwhelming material and positional advantage, which quickly decided the game. Bishop e4, h takes g, h takes g, bishop e6, queen g7, f5, e takes f, because this is en passant, bishop g4, f3, and queen takes on e4. And here white resigned. Why white resigned? Good question. It's because if you take here, this is gone, and so it starts to become a big problem. At the same time, obviously, black position is still a little shaky there, but yeah, now he has a huge material advantage, and yeah, it's a mess. This is a mess, and white will not really escape because he goes back and gives check. So what do? You have to go back. But once you go back, the situation is even worse. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this game. It was nice to see that the critical position was to find a move that was kind of difficult to find, the castle. However, I think you can see some games by Kasparov in which he really is able to keep the enemy king in the center and win, like it should have been done in this game. Thank you very much for watching. This was the game, this was the book Improve Your Chess Results by Vladimir Zak.